styles, everyday finds, one place. Welcome to Shack Shop, your go-to online store for women's fashion and must-have essentials. From trendy outfits to lifestyle items you didn't know you needed, it's all here. Easy shopping, great prices, new arrivals dropping often. Shop smarter. Shop Shack Shop. Visit us online today.
When TikTok first exploded across American smartphones, it was easy to dismiss the app as a chaotic stream of dances, jokes, and hyper-edited trends. But with roughly 170 million US users, many of them teenagers and preteens, TikTok quietly became one of the most powerful cultural engines in the country. Now, with a long-anticipated ownership deal, transferring control of TikTok's US operations to a majority American board dominated by Trump-aligned investors, the app is no longer just a social platform. It has become a flashpoint in a much larger struggle over who shapes American culture and how. For President Donald Trump and his allies, the deal represents a strategic victory, resolving national security concerns while securing influence over a platform that has already proven crucial to youth engagement. For critics, it raises uncomfortable questions about whether the nation is trading one form of influence, Chinese ownership, for another, more ideologically charged one closer to home. From national security crisis to cultural crossroads. The TikTok deal stems from a bipartisan law passed in 2024 that gave ByteDance, TikTok's China-based parent company, an ultimatum: sell the U.S. arm to American owners or face a nationwide ban. Lawmakers framed the issue as one of surveillance, data privacy, and foreign propaganda. For years, concerns swirled that TikTok's algorithm could be manipulated by Beijing or that sensitive user data might be accessible to Chinese authorities. The new ownership structure was designed to neutralize those fears. A majority American board, US-based data storage, and oversight mechanisms were all touted as safeguards. But in resolving one set of anxieties, the deal opened the door to another. "This is a transfer of power," said Evan Greer, director of the progressive digital rights group Fight for the Future. The platform moved from one ownership group that raised concerns about propaganda and privacy to another group that raises a different set of concerns, but concerns nonetheless. Trump's expanding media orbit. TikTok now joins a growing constellation of media and communication platforms that have, in recent years, shifted towards Trump-friendly leadership. That ecosystem already includes X, formerly Twitter, reshaped after Elon Musk's 2022 acquisition, CBS following its takeover by Skydance Media, a constellation of conservative-leaning digital outlets and streaming platforms, Trump's own social media network, Truth Social. Each shift taken alone could be explained as a business decision. Taken together, critics argue, they form a pattern, one that suggests a deliberate effort to reshape the American information environment. Katie Harbath, a former Meta public policy executive and longtime tech policy consultant, said Trump has demonstrated a keen understanding of where cultural influence actually lives. She understands the importance of having allies in these spaces.
The algorithm nobody can see, but everyone feels. TikTok's defining innovation isn't video length or filters. It's the For You page, a constantly evolving stream driven by behavioral signals. Watch time, rewatches, pauses, shares, comments, even hesitation. Unlike follower-based platforms, TikTok excels at surfacing content from strangers. That design allows ideas to spread with extraordinary speed, often detached from context or origin. Policy experts warned that even small tweaks to ranking priorities, without explicit political instructions, can produce outsized cultural effects. "You don't need a smoking gun memo saying boost pro-Trump content," said one former trust and safety executive from a major platform. "All it takes is adjusting how controversy, outrage, or engagement is weighted." The fear, critics say, isn't censorship, it's amplification. From Beijing to billionaires. Under ByteDance, lawmakers worried TikTok could subtly deprioritize content critical of China or elevate narratives aligned with Beijing's interests. Those concerns drove the bipartisan push for forced divestment. Now, civil liberties groups argue the same risk exists, just with different beneficiaries. Evan Greer of Fight for the Future warned that political capture doesn't require overt meddling. When ownership shifts, priorities shift, Greer said. What content gets protected? What gets demonetized? What gets flagged as borderline? Those decisions are cultural power. TikTok has not indicated any plans to alter its algorithm, and neither the White House nor the company has responded publicly to questions about editorial safeguards. Trump's cultural strategy has been hiding in plain sight. Trump's interest in TikTok isn't an outlier, it fits a broader pattern. Over the past several years, Trump has increasingly focused not just on winning elections, but on shaping the cultural environment around them. That effort has included installing loyalists at high-visibility cultural institutions, publicly criticizing television storylines and media portrayals, positioning conservative entertainers and influencers as counterweights to Hollywood, using social platforms to bypass legacy media entirely. The TikTok deal, viewed through this lens, is less about governance and more about narrative infrastructure. This isn't about controlling speech, said one Republican strategist not affiliated with the White House. It's about not being shut out of the conversation anymore. Is a vibe shift already underway? Several longtime TikTok users say they've already noticed subtle changes, though anecdotal evidence cuts both ways. Some creators report seeing more nationalist, anti-woke, or populist content breaking into their feeds. Others say nothing feels different at all. Tech analyst Katie Harbath cautioned against reading too much into early impressions. Perception can drive behavior even before reality does, she said. If people think a platform is changing, they act accordingly. That dynamic played out vividly after Elon Musk bought Twitter. Even before policy changes were implemented, large numbers of left-leaning users migrated to alternatives like Blue Sky and Mastodon. The resulting demographic shift amplified conservative voices organically, no algorithmic interference required. If TikTok experiences a similar exodus, Greer said, the culture will change on its own. Business incentives versus political pressure. One reason TikTok may resist dramatic change is money. The platform's appeal lies in its chaotic diversity. Beauty tutorials next to political satire, viral dances beside war commentary. Advertisers value that reach, especially among Gen Z. A hard ideological tilt could fracture that audience. TikTok isn't cable news, said Lindsay Gorman of the German Marshall Fund. Its success depends on not alienating half the country. Several investors tied to the deal have deep financial exposure to TikTok's continued growth. That creates a counterweight to overt politicization. Still, critics note that political alignment doesn't always require sacrificing profits, especially if changes are gradual. The Republican divide behind the scenes. Even within conservative circles, the TikTok deal has exposed internal tensions. Alex Bruzewitz, whose firm manages Trump's TikTok presence, dismissed concerns about algorithmic favoritism. He doesn't need help, Bruzewitz said. Trump performs well because he understands the medium. But other GOP digital strategists are more cautious. Amanda Carey Elliott warned that visible manipulation could alienate moderates, the very voters Republicans have struggled to reach online. If TikTok becomes the Republican app, you lose the middle, she said, and Gen Z hates feeling played. That tension between retribution for perceived past censorship and the desire for long-term legitimacy remains unresolved. Young users are not passive. One misconception driving the debate is that teens and young adults are simply vessels for influence. Political scientists caution that younger users are often more skeptical of overt messaging than older demographics. Gen Z is hyper-aware of propaganda, said one youth engagement researcher. They distrust institutions across the board, left, right, corporate, and governmental. That skepticism could blunt the impact of any perceived political shade or provoke backlash. The real risk: normalization of political ownership. Perhaps the most lasting consequences of the TikTok deal isn't what happens next month, but what becomes acceptable going forward. If platforms are routinely bought, steered, or reshaped by politically aligned billionaires, critics warned it could accelerate the erosion of neutral digital spaces. The danger isn't one ideology winning, Greer said. It's that culture itself becomes something owned.